are in my old stomping ground, Georgia State University, but we're actually over here in Pittsburgh, right? So when I first got started in real estate, this area called Pittsburgh was dilapidated, and even now you can still go find some parts that you probably wouldn't want to go into. But we knew the development was coming. So I remember when we were talking to investors, we sold a whole portfolio as a wholesaler. And this is what made me get out of wholesaling and get into development. We sold a whole package of 3 houses for $60,000 total for all 3 houses. And each one of those houses are now worth over $300,000 to $400,000. Now, this is very powerful because you're talking about the cycle of communities and neighborhoods and developments, but also you're talking about equity that comes in these homes. You're talking about now stores like Chase, Publix, Jersey Mike's. Now they're all coming to the neighborhood, and they only increase and enhance the value. Now that was back in 2015, 2016, and we're now in 2024. Part of the issue is that a lot of our community don't have that type of time to hold on to these properties while they appreciate like such. But it was us being visionaries and pioneers in neighborhoods and areas, and that's how you can maximize on what you can get out of a property to get in real estate. Look at how much construction is going on in the area. Understand the life cycle of a deal that you are part of, because that can tell you how much of an upswing or an uptick that you can get through investment. See, if I would understand then what I understand now, like I knew it was coming, but I didn't have the full monies to keep it a property for 9 years to wait for it to get there. But if you come when it's already there, like now, there's no way you're finding a property in this area for less than $100,000. Now, because of all this that's going on, you hear the lights, you see the construction, you see all this going on. There's no way that you're finding opportunity for less than $100,000 in this area. So it's okay, but you're just at a different part of the swing. So that's where it's important of understanding the life cycle of real estate, because then it can tell you where best to spend your dollars. Because people ask me all the time, Jessica, is this a good deal? Well, what life cycle is the neighborhood? Because a lot of times we talk about gentrification. And being in Atlanta, this is such a interesting topic, because I've been in Atlanta when they had the Techwood projects and they opened them up. I've been in Atlanta when they closed them down for the Olympics, which has made a lot of headway. And yes, it did displace a lot of people. But that is why my mission is so much more valuable, to teach the cycle and how the game is being played, so that you understand the rules of engagement. Because that cycle has now happened in urban cities across the world. This isn't just happening here in America. It's not just happening here in Atlanta. I've been across the seas in Asia, in Europe, in Africa. I haven't made it to South America yet, but I've made it to a lot of different countries, and they're all in some way going through a life development cycle. And I've broken that down literally. We go through discovery, design, development, and then think about the deployment and afterwards and the return on cash invested. That is the life cycle. Now, where you are in the life cycle in your community, it depends on where the best advantage to get a part of. Because just think, if a community is already fixed up, already fine, like a Johns Creek here in Atlanta, right? It's already developed, prime real estate, prime everything. Are you going to have much room for margins in an economy like that? Now, yes, you can get in and you can still make money because of the 5 Ds. There is always going to be death, disaster, disagreement, disability, and divorce. No matter what economy it's in, because people often say, oh, Atlanta's saturated, or it's saturated. I shouldn't go over here. But because of the 5 Ds, you are always going to have opportunity. I don't care where you are. But yes, in more established, pristine areas, it is harder to get into because the advantage of real estate is that when you get into it at a low rate, you can then take advantage of the appreciation of the asset over time with developments like this in a community. But if you come in after it's already developed, after it's already established, you're generally paying at the higher end and the top tier. You are able still, because it's real estate, and McDonald's cheeseburgers will never go back down to $1. My dad said that he used to go in McDonald's and get 3 items, and he would come out with a quarter change for $1, right? So you won't go back to that. McDonald's is probably going to be $24 by the time our kids get old enough, right? So McDonald's and things like that always stay going up. So the appreciation of houses will always stay going up. But depending upon the level of development that's happening at that time in that area is what determines how much of an upswing you can anticipate on getting. Now, depending upon where the area is in development, will show you where they are at that upswing. So like I said, if you look at this street right now, there's a Chase right there, there's a Publix, and there's a Cava. I ain't even heard of no Cava. But all these little fancy places that come when places that are typically what they call gentrified, it's in the upswing, right? There's a lot of development going on. So that means the appreciation, we're on that, just on that cusp, right? We're just on the peak. If you could think of a trajectory going up, right? And generally when it's going up, you don't see a lot of value. Generally when it's going up, it's the houses that feel it first. And then because the commercial development can take time. It takes years, it takes planning. So you'll start to see the houses go first. So hence why we're back in 2015, 2016, seeing these things pop like popcorn. And that's when you need to start paying attention. That's where, if you're looking for what area should I get in, what neighborhood should I be investing in, start looking for signs and development. Because look, we are in 2024 now. This was starting back in 2015. 2015 to 2024, that's a long time. But that's how much leeway that now you have to go look and transition in the houses. And what are you looking for in the houses? People with those 5 Ds. People who have death, disaster, disagreement, disability, divorce, and I think I said all 5 of them. And divorce. If not, just go back and look at it. But you really want to pay attention to the cycles that are happening in the neighborhood you're looking to invest in, because now you can start to understand at the point in which you should go and where your investments will take you. Because people are looking at houses as a stab in the dark, and they're like, well, I don't know. Well, what price point are you buying it at? Are you buying it at the low end? Are you buying it at the high end? Where does the community? How fast are people purchasing within the community? Because if it's great that I do the house and flip it, but if I have to hold it 2 years for it to sell, not so great, right? So we want to know how often are properties moving in an area. These are key indicators of what is going on and how your appreciation and your wealth can grow. You also want to look at the different stores that are coming. Like you see, they're not building shabby places. They're building these nice, you got Georgia State that has this whole stadium right here. They redid an old stadium here and they fixed it up. They got apartments over there. So to service the apartments, they need to have grocery stores. They got grocery stores. They got hospitals. You bring education. These are the things that build community. These are the resources that now your resident will have access to, which ultimately makes it more valuable. So now that your house is more valuable, you have a higher upswing of appreciation. So when people ask me all the time, what type of house is it? Or is it a deal? Is it an opportunity? Well, really, you want to know the demand generators in the neighborhood, because those are going to be the things that when your end buyer finds value in. When your home, is it too far? But hey, it's next to a whole developing community. So I don't care that it's 20 minutes outside the city. Or hey, it's in the middle of traffic because it's in the middle of an area. So hey, it matters to me. Those things matter. You think about the end in mind before you even begin. You think about what they'll have to process, and that will better help you understand what value you're truly providing by the house that you have. It's not just flipping a house, it's understanding those other elements that go into it as well. So I love exploring and tell you being out here, my old stomping grounds, because I remember what it was. And it's just so beautiful now to see what it's become and how it's growing and how it's expanding into this beautiful neighborhood. Because we used to see newspapers and drawings and things like that of what it would look like. And another thing that I learned from that, I will say, is a vision takes time. You know, sometimes we want just as soon as we put it down on the paper for it to be ready, up and going, and cash flowing. But a vision takes time and building and mulling, and there are parts in it that don't work out that you have to redo again. There are parts in it that flourish right off in the first hand. But one of the things I will say is that I've seen them go from growing in 2015 to selling these houses for $20,000, $30,000 per house to now getting hundreds of thousands of dollars because of the collective development that is happening all around here. So join the party. If you have that long money and you can wait 8, 9, 10 years for an investment, that's true investors, honestly. Because I mean, imagine you could invest in something $10,000, that's your retirement plan right there. But a lot of people may not have that patience if they're early on or newer in their career. Because it's so interesting. That's what I learned when I went and closed the deal. And this guy, he was like, oh, you must be new. And I was like, I just flipped the house. What are you talking about? I must be new. And he was like, oh, because he was like, we keep our properties. I was like, oh, I get it. I get it now. I mean, this is a 10-year play, 10, 11, 12. I mean, you go to places like Dubai, that's a 1,000-year play. Like, they're going on dynasty. They're not worried about a temperamental one lifetime. Like, they're going on the dynasty of our family. That's what we build it for. So it's a different type of play depending upon your economic level. When I first got in, it was all about flipping. Everything I'm flipping. Flipping is quick money. But the long money and the longevity is when you're able to park your funds into an investment. And that's where you can buy a couple of houses like that in an up and coming neighborhood, in a sprawling neighborhood that you know is growing. And imagine if you had 10 houses that you bought for $10,000, right? That's nothing, right? And you have places like that still that are up and coming and growing. But imagine if you could hold on for 10 years. You go work in corporate America, you go get your job in 10 years, right? And then in 10 years, each of those properties are now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars each one. And every time you want to retire, go on a trip, you just sell off one of your properties because you ain't got to sell them all. You just sell off one of them. Things like that is what real estate helps give you access to. And that's why, man, I love it. And I make that play all day. But I make sure that I pay attention to cycles. Pay attention to cycles. What are indicators of those cycles? Like I said, looking at development, looking at plans, going down, speaking with county officials and county leaders and seeing what the plans are and the vision is for that area. That's what helps to start opening up opportunities. And then you can start thinking of how can I bring resources and life force back into this community so that it can thrive. Because at the end of the day, part of development is providing jobs. You're helping other people find ways so that they can make money and feed their families. And that's really what it's all about. So stay tuned to this channel to find out more information about how development, neighborhood planning, and all of those things really go into helping you live a more fulfilled life so that you can really get to it. Live what you're here for. Enjoy. But you got to plant the right seeds to get the right harvest so that you can get to the next level. So stay tuned. It's your girl, Jessica.